webinar on Alert Plus. We got a couple things we're going to go through today. We're going to go through just a quick PowerPoint that outlines Bamboo, our pricing strategy, a little overview of the product that is replacing SharePoint Alerts. Take a quick tour of the website so you can see where you can start a trial if you'd like, and also more information about the product. And then we'll get into a demo of the products that comprise the solution. So without further ado, why don't we get started? And by registering for this, you're going to get on a personal email from me that comes out probably every 2 weeks that updates you on our development status of the 2 new end user products that complete the solution, which we'll learn about today. So with that, let's go ahead, and there is a Q&A section on the group. So if you want to ask questions, I'll be monitoring that so that I can answer along the way whatever your questions are about what you're seeing. All right, so who is Bamboo? Wow. Well, we're a provider of enterprise software for Microsoft 365, SharePoint specifically, as well as SharePoint on-premise. We also have a whole services team that does build-outs of portals, as well as Power App development, Power BI development, and things like that. So the company is really all in on the Microsoft strategy. We've got over 8,000 customers worldwide that have downloaded our products. Probably 2,000 customers that are on active maintenance at this point that are actively using our products, both on-prem and in the cloud. And we're, of course, a Microsoft Gold partner. We always like to say our experience makes us the best in class. It is not that easy to get these products working well and efficiently within the SharePoint Online environment. There's a lot of throttling, permissions, tokens, and things that make these products work as well as they do. We've been developing products for SharePoint Online now since 2017, 2018. We've got 25 products that work in the platform. And they're very mature at this point and very performant. So all of our products do have a 30-day trial that's built into them, and we'll show you how to access those trials and the like. What's important to note is that these are SPFX solutions, that they are not add-ins. So as you all know, add-ins are leaving the ecosystem of Microsoft, but that's a whole different thing than what we develop. SPFX solutions are the product Microsoft's recommended strategy for adding products to SharePoint Online. Our products are both available on our website at bamboosolutions.com, as well as the Microsoft App Store. I don't believe we have not put up Alert Plus into the App Source actually is what it's called. Because it's got an Azure backend, and it was just a little too complex at this point to put it up there. So really the only place you can get the trial for the product is off of our website. Our products are on a subscription basis, and that subscription licenses for your entire tenant. There is no per user per month charges. It's just a flat fee. And it includes support, upgrades, training, installation, and all the help you need to get things going. And the like. So pretty straightforward there. It is a single price per SharePoint tenant. You can bundle products together if you'd like and receive some discounts. You create your own bundles, so we don't have any preset bundles. So if you see 2 or 3 products that you like, you can just add them to your subscription and your discounts will be applied. We have monthly payment options as well as a yearly prepayment with a discount. The portal is totally managed by you when you want to upgrade, downgrade, or cancel your subscriptions. And again, we offer neat flexibility with our subscriptions, and that flexibility allows you on your renewal of your subscription, you can actually change out your product. So if your needs change or requirements change, or you find you're not really getting the most out of one of the products you have, you can flip it out for a new one with no penalty or charge. So pretty flexible on that side. All right. We do also offer a small business not-for-profit discount, so you can go to our website and I'll show you where that is, and you can learn all about that. And it's got some really low pricing for our smaller companies out there. One of the products that is free with any product that you buy is what we call Tenant Manager, and this Tenant Manager is where you will license the products for your tenant. It's a web part, but in addition to the licensing, we have added analytics, and we'll take a quick tour of this during the demo. But it brings in really where all of your products are installed, and also how often they're being accessed and used by users. It shows you ones that have maybe licenses that are about to expire. It shows you how many users have accessed it. You can get all the way down to a specific web page or SharePoint page to see how it's being used. So really some nice analytics in Bamboo Tenant Manager to enhance the experience in there. So we're going to talk about Alerts Plus today. And why we're all here, and we've had really a big uptick in interest in Alert Plus, we're super happy about, is that Microsoft announcement of the retirement of SharePoint Alerts. You can see that big pink thing at the bottom is what your users are seeing when they try to create a new alert. Just a quick note on timeline. This month, or last month rather, SharePoint Alert expiration feature will activate. So that's that little 30-day window that says when you create an alert, you have to actually set an expiration time. It defaults to 30 days. I think you can extend it out if you want to, but that means they are going to go away. In January, in just a couple months, the creation of new SharePoint alerts will be gradually turned off for all tenants. I don't think they're actually allowing alerts to be created on any new tenants that are sent out right now. And by July 2026, Microsoft will remove the ability to use SharePoint alerts. Existing alerts cannot be extended anymore, and they'll essentially get deleted. So we've got that's our time frame we're working with to find a suitable replacement for your users. So what is Microsoft moving to? Well, we'll get to that in a second. If you're interested in how many alerts your organization is using, there is a tool called the SharePoint Alerts Assessment Tool. Microsoft is promoting this as well. It is on GitHub. You can just sort of Google it, and I'm going to send a video of this around to all of you so you can grab that. But it is a web part that will go out and assess all of your alert usage. It will ask for these permissions to the Graph API, which allows it to read all of the information in your alert. So the Microsoft Alert Assessment Tool is something you guys should know about. So Microsoft is promoting using Power Automate to replace alerts, and they've got some pre-built Power Automates out there. It's a little bit of an overkill for an email alert that a user wants to set up. Again, these are really user-based items, not admin-based. SharePoint Rules is something new that's come out on under the Automation tab. It's built into modern list and libraries. They're very interesting in what they're trying to do with that, where the user can kind of use a natural language search and fill in some blanks. It's limited in terms of what the alert can notify the person of, but SharePoint Rules is something that they're starting to look at. They are not Power Automate. They're something else, and they are out there now if you want to try them as well. However, if you want to recreate what alerts do today, then our product is really the way to go. So Alerts Plus allows you to create custom alerts both from an admin standpoint as well as an end user standpoint. And you can create these alerts based on item created, changed, exists in a list. These alerts are sent either every 15 minutes, which is the ASAP, or they're sent once a day and the like. And we've got some new stuff coming on that as well to match more what the SharePoint alerts do today out of the box. What's nice is on any of those alerts on created, changed, or exists, you can put some rules or that trigger the alert to be sent, right? So the loop, unlike the SharePoint alerts where we can really just specify items that have been changed, that were created by me, items that have changed, period, and the like, we can actually put triggers such as things like a task is, anything in this list where a task is due next week, right? Send an email to the person that created the task or is in charge of the task. So we're actually creating rules that the user can set up that really specify to a finer level when they want to get alerted. and the like. So those alerts are managed and created all through web parts that exist on your site in the ribbon bar and elsewhere. But on the back end, we've got an Azure implementation of where the alerts sit. And that Azure implementation runs the jobs that scan the lists, run the Boolean logic, create the emails, and send those emails out. Now, the Azure environment can exist either in our cloud in a shared secure environment, and that's just up and running and ready to go for you, or you can actually run those Azure services in your Azure cloud. So either way is fine with us. The SPFX web parts just simply point to the correct cloud, and you're off and running. So it's very flexible in its deployment, and of course we'll include all training and the like. So the key features are very similar to what you can do with SharePoint Alerts, right? So alerts can be sent to users, groups, distribution lists. You can have these flexible triggers such as add, edit, delete, column changes. It can go to multiple delivery channels. So right now we're doing email, but we have put all the webhooks in to be able to surface alerts into Teams channels or to send out SMSs to users. We're going to have rich HTML formatting within the email that comes out that includes daily or immediate, and we're adding daily or weekly digest options. So right now that's really all you can get in SharePoint is a daily or weekly digest of all the alerts that are aggregated. We're adding that feature, which will be coming out after the first release, where you can have just an immediate alert, a daily alert, or a daily digest, or a weekly digest alert. So cut down on the number of emails that you're getting and get sort of a list of alerts that for a particular list that happened during the week. We have all sorts of admin dashboards that allow you to manage alerts that are out there and to see what's going on and help users manage their alerts. And we've also developed a migration path from your existing SharePoint alerts into Alert Plus. So as long as we can get to them prior to Microsoft deleting your alerts, we have found a way to export those alerts, transform them, and then import them into Alerts Plus so that your users will not lose any of the alerts they've already set up in there. So lots of neat things to do there. So the four really components that are out there is the Azure service, right, which is running in our cloud or yours. Sorry for the typo up there. And that's ready to store all of your configured alerts, right? We're not storing any customer data up there. It is just simply the alerts that run through the list, configure an email in memory, and send those out. Alerts Plus Manager is the admin tool that allows you to look at everybody's alerts as well as create alerts for other people, and from a central location create alerts for any list within your tenant, so you don't actually have to be on the list to create the alert. So that's going to be for your super users, power users, team leads, admins, right? And that's a piece that you want to protect on a page. The Add Bamboo Alert or Manage Bamboo Alerts are the two end user facing components that allow a user to create an alert for a list or library that they're on, right? So they have to be at a list or library, which is the security in terms of do they have access to it. And then they can go ahead and add an alert for any of the items or across the entire list. And then if they want to, they can flip right over to manage their alerts, and then they can see all of their personal alerts that they've created across the entire tenant and manage those with a nice search feature. So we're going to take a look at the first, not release, I'm going to say it's an alpha release that we have of those, just to show you how they're working and where we are and what we're going to be adding to them. So all of these components are what Alerts Plus is comprised of as a single solution. So the way that looks, right, on the front end in SharePoint, right, we've got the tenant manager we talked about, we've got the Alerts Plus admin piece, and then the two end user tools, right? Those are all in your SharePoint tenant access through the tenant catalog. You add this to a page. These are auto deployed to every list and library within your tenant. And then they speak back to either our Azure cloud for setting up the triggers and running them, or your Azure instance, right? Right there, and the like. So that's sort of a little high-level overview. So essentially for a user, what they would look like is both on the context menu here in the dot dot dots or on the ribbon bar across the top. There'll be two new web parts. One's called Add Bamboo Alert. The other one is Manage Bamboo Alerts. And of course, once you click on that, this dialog will appear and we'll run through this together. And then you can actually, when you're creating alert, you can actually go right over to your manage alerts or vice versa without having to come back to the page and click on it. So we'll take a look at that and what that looks like. So let's take a quick look at the website and then we'll come back and we'll just stay here because we'll be able to do the entire demo over there. All right, it looks like we may have a question already. Let me take a look. Yeah, we do have a specs for the install and configuration so that you can look at it. Kathleen, I'll send that over to you. Norm, how are you validating that the user has access to the content at the point the email goes out? Let's say the user. So the user won't be able to set up a so the email, okay, so there's a couple of questions. So the question was, how are you validating that the user has access to the content at the point the email goes out? Let's say the user. Okay, so the person who sets up the alert has to have access to the content. Now, if they put a CC on that to a person that doesn't have access to that content, they will still get the alert. If you provided any tokens from the list in the email, they will see those. However, if they try to go to the list, they won't be able to go to them. It's an interesting point, Norm. I haven't really thought about that. Maybe there's something in the people picker that we can choose that if you're setting up, we can check the permissions against the list to see if, but then if you get into groups, it gets a little complicated. That's an interesting question there, Norm. If you're really concerned about that, I would say don't put any sensitive data in the alert itself. However, if the user tries to get to the list that the alert came from, they won't be able to do it. All right, and we can talk more if that's not enough of an answer. Okay, so on our homepage, bamboosolutions.com, under we've got all sorts of neat things. We have a subscription program information. There's information about our tenant manager. We've got other products like org charting. We've got a great calendar app in here. Weekly Roundup is a weekly email that goes out, and it's really all of the latest news and conferences for SharePoint and Microsoft 365. It's really a fun, quick read of all things that are SharePoint, so you can subscribe to that here. And then we've got information on Alerts Plus. So under the product side on the left is all of our SharePoint Online products. And then on the right are all of our on-premise products. So we're going to focus on this side. And if we go to View More, we'll get a complete list of our products for SharePoint Online. So this gives you a nice little summary of each product so you can read through those and what they do. Today we're going to focus on Alert Plus. So Alert Plus, it gives you a little overview of what's happening. It gives you some screenshots and information about the migration, and then information on pricing, which hasn't loaded yet for some reason. Let's go ahead and, why isn't that? There we go. On pricing. So if we go here, we can click on the subscription pricing, and you can see the pricing for it. So the pricing for whether you're running it in Azure Cloud or your Azure Cloud is the same. Simply, you just take a look at how many users are licensed for SharePoint Online. We've got them in big bundles, so we're not real picky about this. So it's up to 2,000, 2,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000, and over 100,000 users. And essentially, you would just take a look at the price. We've got the yearly commitment or the 1 year commitment billed monthly. And Alerts Plus is a single web part solution, even though it has 3 or 4 web parts in it. And the like. So I can answer all your questions about that pricing when we get there. All right. Next, what we're going to do is take a look at how of this works. So, where should I start? Let's start first with Alert Plus, the tenant manager, not the tenant manager, the Alert Plus manager. So this is a web part. that has been added to a modern page in your tenant, and it allows you to create alerts as a person who has access to this. So you don't want to make this available to everybody, that you can then create alerts across your entire tenant. Now, again, this is an admin feature. I believe it's security trimmed, so that if I pick a site that I want to create an alert from and I click load lists, there won't be any lists that I'm allowed to see if I don't have access to that site. So there is some security here built in, but we're going to call this a new alert, right? We're going to enable it so we can run it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to point it to a list or library. By putting in my URL, which is this URL right here, I'm going to click my load lists. I get my list of lists that I have access to, and I'm going to click my Alerts Plus demo. I'm going to send this as soon as possible or daily, and then I'm going to pick my events. So my events are either created, changed, created, or modified, or an item exists. If I pick that an item exists, and I've got just sort of a little start date task list down here that I'm working off of. Again, you can create alerts all across your tenant, but I'm just happening to do it here so we can figure it out. Is one of the neat features is that you've got this follow-up wait days. So if an item exists, right, and I want to create a trigger that says, let's say the due date is in the next week, right? And, right, let's say the status does not equal, and it's completed. All right, so I'm going to take a look at this every 15 minutes. Probably want to do it daily, but right, I'm going to run this at 8 a.m. Where's my 8 a.m.? There it is. And 8 a.m. You can also change the time zone where 8 a.m. is if it's something that you want to do. But when it runs and it triggers, I really want to wait a week for it to trigger again. So once it triggers, it won't trigger again for 7 days, and then it will send out another alert if that status is still there. Kind of a neat thing that allows you to not get something every day, right, unless you want it pressing. But in something that's due next week, maybe we want to do it every 3 days, so that, oops. They get it twice that week, and then of course it won't trigger in the next week because it will be in the week that it's due. So once I've got that done, I can go ahead and actually formulate my email. What's nice is you've got access to all of your tokens, right? So if I look at who it was assigned to, I can actually take that token and put it in the to field. From the from, I can make it from anybody I want. And then I can also put really anything I want in this rich text down here. I can put all of my due dates, who was assigned to. We've also put in here things like the list name, the list URL, the item URL, and the site URL. So if I wanted to, this task, whoops, is due on due date. Here is a link to the item for review. So you get the idea. Once that's done, that alert is added. It's now in the Alerts Manager. I can also go ahead and clone the alert, which is kind of a nifty feature. So if I clone the alert, I can go ahead and say, let's say past due. And then I can just change this where the due date is in this week or is passed by, and it doesn't equal completed. And then I can write maybe a little strongly worded email, right? If I wanted to change it, now that's past due. And essentially now I've got my past due alert here. So really kind of a neat way to take a look at what's going on here. Now, this is all from a person who's setting it up for their teams. What if you're an end user and you want to simulate the alert me function? So now a user running through a list in the sales and marketing site. And I've got up here actually 2 new web parts that have been auto deployed. So when you install the product, these will actually go to every list and library in your tenant. At which point, the user can add an alert, and they get essentially a slimmed down version of what we just saw. So it's still the same back end, but now I've got the ability to say, when an item is created in here, and I want to add a condition such as, I don't know, license type equals cloud, right? So when a new cloud item is added to this list, I want to get an email, right? So I can set my delivery options, daily or immediately, via email, Teams and SMS coming, or we can enable it. We haven't added our tokens yet. That's why this is still alpha, but so we'll have all of the same tokens that we had before to set up our email, and then we can give it a description and a name, and then go ahead and let's put it in the subject, an email template, and the like. So if this is met, then I'm going to get a trigger, and I'm going to go ahead and save that alert. All right. In addition, I've got my manage alerts, and this is going to bring up all of my alerts across all of the tenant that I've created. I've got a nice search. I'm going to have my list URL that they're assigned to, and it allows me to edit or delete. The edit button is not quite ready yet, but you get the idea that in between these two things, you can flip back and forth for the user to see all of the alerts that they've created to be able to manage them, clone them, edit them, or create a brand new alert, right, on the list that they have access to. Now, what you can't do is create an alert for a list that you're not sitting on right now. So that's the security that I've got the ability. I have to be able to get to the list in order to create an alert for that list. The to and from will also be token enabled. Right now it's just sending to the person who's logged in just for testing purposes, and the like. So that is a first look at this. So if you go to any other, right, you'll see your Bamboo alert here. And if I create an alert, same thing. If it meets a certain condition, I can actually have a single condition here. And then I can even add more filter conditions if I'd like to actually really refine when I want to get that alert as an end user for the items, right? And then the alert details are there. So those are really the 2 demos, which are the Manage Bamboo Alerts and Add Bamboo Alert, and then the Bamboo Alert Administrator console here that allows you to manage all of the alerts, including the ones that were created by the user that we just saw there. All right. So any questions on that? I think that's pretty much what we wanted to show today. We're getting close to the end of the half hour. Again, I'm Rob Manfredi. I'm going to send an email out that allows you to get a copy of this recording, and then we'll keep you posted as we finalize these. And if you're looking to maybe beta trial these, we'd love to have access to help you do that. And we're on this journey together, so we'll have something released before the end of the year. Okay, let me take a look at that. Thank you, Oscar. We're trying. I said Microsoft used search to build the alert at the time the email went out. The user did not have access to, at the point of the email going out, they would not get the link in the email. Receive the link they didn't have access to, but I need to, okay. We'll take a look into that, Norm, and get back to you. I've got your questions all here in the chat, so I can understand that. All right, another question coming in. We should be able to purchase by mid-December is our goal. Yes, we'll send out a recording. I'm going to publish the recording here, but I'm also going to send it out in an email for download in case, you know how these permissions work with Teams. Sometimes you can't actually see the recording even though you attended the webinar. So it'll come out. I will send that to you, Oscar, today. So you'll get the recording today. Well, thank you all for showing up and seeing this alpha version. We're super excited about what's going on, and we'll see you guys all online. Thank you.